Astro Bot sees Team Asobi take its original PS5 pack-in's passion for all things gaming and platforming and then dials it up to 11, delivering 3D platforming joy on an unprecedented level. When the PS5 first launched back in 2020 and Astro's Playroom came packaged with it as standard, it made a great case for what new this current generation of consoles could achieve. Excellent haptic feedback implementation on the DualSense, beautifully glossy visuals, and a countless number of callbacks to classic franchises all merged to creatively usher in the next PlayStation era. Well, nearly 4 years later, and I'd argue that Team Asobi's pack-in platformer was yet to be beaten in terms of being the premier PS5 showcase. Until now, that is. Not only is the simply titled Astro Bot an even more charming and inventive follow-up expanded into full game length, it's a joyous celebration of video games as a whole, featuring some of the most inspired level design and mechanics I've ever played in a 3D platformer. Astro Bot is a once-in-a-generation delight that had me smiling from ear to ear. Astro Bot begins, simply enough, with our titular hero fresh off the last rescue mission before crash landing their PS5 spaceship onto a barren, dusty planet. This causes essential components such as the console's GPU, SSD, and even cooling fan all to become scattered in space, setting the foundation for another imaginative adventure that sees Astro Bot attempting to get them back while also hunting down 300 missing bots. What ensues is a jamboree of sheer excitement and discovery, a journey that saw me hover, bounce, fly, and bash through 6 distinct galaxies worth of levels, each presenting a unique gameplay idea or mechanic, and then pushing that mechanic to its absolute limit. There is a semblance of a basic story going on here, but it very much stays out of its own way in favour of jetting you off from one wonderful scenario to the next. Astro Bot himself handles much the same as before, performing jumps that are appropriately snappy and responsive so as to make exploration a breeze. This, combined with his basic abilities to attack enemies via slap or gliding above them using laser thrusters, makes for a reliably simple combat toolbox perfectly in line with the game's whimsical nature. The genius of Team Asobi's follow-up, however, is the myriad of power-ups Astro Bot tends to acquire at the beginning of most stages, which suddenly transforms your expectations of what you think is in store into something else entirely. A lot of these mechanics would be the basis of an entire game elsewhere, but Astro Bot makes it its mission to work magic with one skill before swiftly ditching it for something else equally as genius. A good representation of this mindset are the twin frog gloves, which make an appearance relatively early on in the first galaxy. What could have been a way to merely add range to Astro Bot's melee strikes are almost instantly made use of in several other ways, be it gripping onto a rotating cylinder to swing through the air from point to point, or gripping onto 2 handles and then slingshotting yourself over to the next platform. None of the power-ups you wield in Astro Bot are ever built around just one idea, instead being reinvented over and over again within the span of a single stage. The same goes for the Propeller Pup backpack, the Bulldog Booster jetpack, and the Monkey Climber arms. To explain what each do in detail would rob you of the countless aha moments Astro Bot dishes out on the regular. Just know that there's a surprising mechanic around almost every corner. The element of surprise also smartly translates over to Astro Bot's Collectibles. Puzzle pieces and the standard lost bots from before both make their return, of course, but whereas botified versions of familiar video game characters were previously confined to humble Easter egg status, these are now also lost in amongst the planets too. It might sound like a simple change to the formula, and it is, but I can't tell you how much more this made me want to hunt down all 300 of Astro Bot's pals. Your PlayStation first-party essentials such as Uncharted and Ratchet & Clank are all paid excellent tribute to, sure, but so are titans from the likes of Capcom and Sega also. You never know which of these VIP bots you might bump into next, and this forms much of the joy when discovering them. It would have been enough for Astro Bot to merely have you collect all 300 bots and call it a day, but this isn't Astro Bot's style. Rather, each bot will join you back at your crash site base as and when you collect them, primed for being engaged with in cool and cute ways that pay respect to their character. Again, this isn't all that goes on back at this main main hub, with there being numerous reasons to regularly return. I'm purposely keeping Stumm to maintain the element of surprise, but what I will say is, alongside even more collectibles to uncover, the crash site offers a good means to make your playthrough of Astro Bot unique, shall we say, alongside playing host to the same Gacha Lab grab machine as before, where your coins can be spent on cool accessories for your VIP bots. Most stages in Astro Bot are perfectly straightforward and accessible. However, every now and then bonus planets will appear in each galaxy that are primed to test your mettle. From one-shot challenges themed around the DualSense controller's 4 face buttons, to combat scenarios centered on you crumbling the floor around a particular enemy type. Some of these brief encounters had me gripping my controller in frustration, yet left me unbelievably fulfilled after I finally finished them. Speaking of unique stages, boss battles in Astro Bot work more as ginormous puzzle set pieces against a giant-sized animal, gifting you a returning power-up and having you think strategically to deliver quite the spectacle. Regardless of who I was fighting and what was asked of me, every boss battle served as a perfect capper to each galaxy's already established originality. It should go without saying that Astro Bot's use of the DualSense controller is once again top-notch, to the point where I am once again asking why more PS5 exclusive games don't utilise the haptic feedback more. Feeling the pitter-patter of rainfall on Astro Bot's brolly via tiny buzzes, and the unique trigger resistance on L2 and R2 each time I reach a grip using the monkey climber provides a distinct play experience like no other modern 3D platformer can deliver. Astro Bot requiring me to blow into my DualSense's microphone or tilting it up and down using the gyro controls where needed only adds to the immersion Team Asobi sequel looks to provide. Such uses are far from a gimmick and further elevate what is already a highly absorbing experience. Much more than a super loaded sequel with even more creative levels and mechanics, Astro Bot celebrates the entire medium by delivering unbridled joy distilled into a charming 3D platformer. I never cry at video games, but one extended sequence based on one specific PlayStation series saw me come extremely close. That sort of magic doesn't come around very often, but it's a kind of magic Astro Bot frequently thrives on. We at Mirror Gaming give Astro Bot a perfect score of 5 out of 5. Are you excited about picking it up and playing it yourself? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.